This is the Business of Apps podcast, bringing you actionable insights from the leaders of the global app industry and the world's fastest growing apps. You can find more app news, data and analysis over at businessofapps.com.
Welcome to the Business of Apps podcast. On this show, we invite app industry professionals to cover various topics. We promise to do our best to keep it both insightful but brief. In this episode, we have Federico Llano, co-founder of TATAM Digital. Federico, welcome to the Business of Apps podcast.
Hey, Art. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Great. Thanks for coming. So when you hear names like Cristiano Ronaldo, Justin Bieber, Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande, Selena Gomez, what do you think is in common for all these people? Well, apart from the fact that they're all extremely popular, they are influencers because they have a gigantic followership and they're involved in various product endorsements, including mobile apps. And of course, the story doesn't stop with these people. There are literally thousands of influencers out there. So today, Federico will help us to understand how influencer marketing works for mobile apps. But let's start with talking about you, Federico. Please tell us about yourself. How did you get involved into influencer marketing business?
Yeah, sure. So I've worked with apps most of my work life. I started at Disney and ESPN, where I launched the first ESPN Play, which was an app to watch sports in Latin America. That was 2010. So a long time. 10 years. It was a phenomenal innovation at that time. I'm from Argentina originally. So that was my first app launch. Then I moved to Brazil, where I worked several years at Electronic Arts in their mobile division. And I launched games like SimCity Mobile, Sims Free Play, FIFA Mobile, very cool games. I was doing sales and marketing for the whole LATAM. So that was, I'm a gamer, so it was awesome. And then I moved back to Argentina and I worked at Viacom, which is another TV company where I launched 2 subscription video services, like the Netflix of Viacom throughout Latin America. And, was pretty much an entrepreneur my whole life, but it was inside corporations, right? So I wanted to transition from intrapreneurs to entrepreneur. And that's how I got involved in influencer marketing. I joined forces with my business partner. Her name is Lucia. She had started TATAM a few months before I joined. And since then, it's been 1 year now of growth and excitement as an entrepreneur in the influencer marketing space.
Yeah, that's great. So you've been in corporate world for a number of years now. You can look outside, and I believe you can leverage your expertise, knowing what's going on inside of the company, how you should get in touch with people, and basically talk on the same language when you're approaching brands, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's pivotal to what we do at TATAM. Both me and Lucia, my co-founder, she also worked at corporate. So we, rapidly, very early understood what was wrong, let's say, with influencer marketing as it was being done. And it's currently also being done in a way that we don't fully agree, let's say, with the vast majority of what we see in the industry. And that's why we created TATAM, to actually do it as we would like that to be done for us in the corporate world.
All right, got you. Okay, so let's talk about TATAM Digital. How did you guys start, and why did you decide? You partially answered my question. Why did you decide to dive into this field? Because you want to make a difference. You want to take a different approach, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So TATAM started a couple of years ago, where my partner, she was director of global growth at a Berlin startup called Clue. They are a female health app, and they grew from 1 to 12 or 13 million monthly active users. And one of the main acquisition channels that was led by Lucia was actually YouTubers. And this was back in 2013. 13, 14, there was not influencer marketing war. The term didn't exist. And she was doing it in a performance approach. So she had to, every week show results about what she was doing. And that massive growth, in Berlin, kind of, companies or startups started to share how they were growing. And what happened was that she ended up, having several conversations with other companies about, doing the same. And that's how she transitioned from her job to actually starting a company based on the demand for what she was doing. And I joined a couple of months after because she was, facing scale, and rapid growth with her alone to a couple of people in the team to now we're 20 in the agency. So that's how we started.
All right. Now, we were covering influencer marketing several months ago in one of the episodes, but let's fresh people's memory for people who haven't heard that episode, and a lot of things have changed since then. So for some people, it may be still a buzzword they don't really comprehend. So let's fill the gap. So what is influencer marketing?
Yeah, I would say influencer marketing is like consistently adding influencers into your marketing mix. So you're not doing a one-off with just hiring, one content creator. You're actually running a program with a strategy that is aligned with whatever growth goals you have. And it makes sense in the broader mix of your efforts. And you're comparing, performance from this channel against other channels, and you're deciding to, pull money out of AdWords or whatever other growth channel you have and actually investing in influencers. And I would say when you have that, you are doing influencer marketing. And what we call an influencer it's funny because even me, when I hear influencer marketing, I have a headache because these, images of models, empty models having, taking a picture with a champagne brand, they appear in my mind. I say, oh, please, I don't want to feel that I'm a part of that, right? So that is not influencer marketing at least as we see it. So we consider influencer someone that has, both the reach and the influence on a certain audience. They are digital natives and they are actual content creators. They are creators, okay? They're not just, a pretty face they are adding value to their audience in some way or another. And they are in platform. So it could be podcasts. So you would be an influencer by my definition. It could be podcast. It could be it could be Twitch. It could be anything. But the key for us is that influence power, and we don't say influence power as being engagement rate. That is not influence power. Influence power for us is the ability to drive sales in the actual world. So that's the key part. Like you can be a model and be very good at driving, a huge amount of attention. But if you're not able to drive actual sales in the real world, you're not interesting for us, for the type of marketing that we do.
All right. I see your point really clearly. Now, speaking of key parts, all app marketers lean to specific KPIs to measure their app marketing campaign's performance. What kind of key performance indicators can you measure for an influencer marketing campaign? What's important? What is there actually bring value?
Yeah, I would say, you have to treat influencers. If you're an app marketer, you have to treat influencers as it was an AdWords campaign. So whatever you're measuring and optimizing for in your AdWords campaign, maybe it is CPI, maybe it is CAC, maybe it's ROAS. You have to be able to measure and optimize the same things for influencer marketing, so that then when you have an additional dollar from your CFO, right, you can actually compare, right, and understand where that extra dollar makes sense. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you are actually measuring influencers as any other performance or growth channel. So I would say, whatever KPI you have for your normal, BAU, day-to-day campaigns that you run, you have to be able to find a way to measure that and optimize that for influencers, so that when you have a decision to be made in terms of budget allocation, you are able to make a decision actually based on performance.
It's actually reinforcing my point, my kind of vision of what's going on with influencer marketing. Because as far as I can remember, the elephant in the room, the biggest problem was, you can drive as much as attention you can, but how actually you can measure how this attention is being converted into real sales, into real downloads. And the only recipe I can remember a few years ago for my my knowledge back then was that, okay, you can stop every other marketing campaign, just run influencer marketing campaign, and here's how you can measure the actual result of this influencer marketing campaign on your app install driving campaign, your effort to gain more users for your app. So this is definitely out of date perception from what I can hear from you. So you're saying right now it is possible, working with influencer, actually measure precisely how many downloads each of those people are driving, correct?
It is absolutely correct. We have 12 plus clients running ongoing acquisition campaigns and comparing our efforts with AdWords and Facebook ads and Instagram ads and YouTube ads, and they keep on growing their budgets. So you not only you can measure, you can succeed on this, but the thing is that, and how you framed it, it's very aligned to what we see as insiders of this influencer marketing industry, and it is the elephant in the room. Like this is a $9 billion industry. So not app marketers, but marketers as a whole in whatever, all of the industries, they are investing $9 billion per year. And I will assure you 90% of that is being, not measured, wasted, or at least not comprehended and not understood, right? So this is the thing. Right now, you can do it. You can track everything that happens, or most of what happens when an influencer posts something. But it is a lot of work, right? And sadly, there are, I don't want to say lazy agencies and marketing teams, but let's say they don't have the bandwidth to actually stop, think about, learn, because there's a learning curve. There's money to be invested in learning. There's time to be invested in learning, and so on. So the sad thing is that we are, this elephant in the room, it's still there, and it's hurting, let's say, the influencer space as a whole. And from our side at TATAM, we are shouting and pointing to that elephant and saying, guys, this is a problem. You have to measure, and you have to run a campaign that it's actually profitable or is delivering the same CAC as the rest of the campaign, because it doesn't make any sense, right? And what happens is that brands are paying money for influencers that maybe are not worth that much money, because when you go and price their influence power, there's not a good influencer can be good or bad depending on how much you pay, right? Because if it drives, if you pay $1,000 for one conversion, it's a very expensive conversion. But if that same conversion cost you $10, then it was a great collaboration with that influencer. So it's about pricing, and it's about efficiency. It's about having the bandwidth and the learning curve to actually being able to pull this off. It can be done, but the elephant in the room is there, and it's very sad for us because it's hurting this space, and we need to fix that.
Definitely. Let's move on to the next question. We're talking about people, and they do make mistakes. What kind of mistakes you see app marketers do when it comes to running influencer marketing campaign for their apps? Because they have a couple of experience and work with these people. What kind of mistakes they do?
Yeah, I think that I would say the biggest mistake is maybe not committing and giving the time to be able to learn, right? So if you want to, I mean, this is a very human media, and it is a slow media compared to what app marketers are used to, right? So I was running campaigns for a bunch of apps and games in my past jobs. I was able to say the campaign was good or bad within a 10-day period, right? And that's because most of the marketing that we do for apps, it's automated, it leverages algorithms and so on. What happens with influencers, it's more like TV, but being able to track everything that happens after a user sees the ad. So you can track clicks on the links and how many people register, how many people use the promo code, how many people subscribe or purchase your product from an ad that actually is more like TV than AdWords, right? So I would say patience and giving the time for the actual content to go live, to mature, to a YouTube video will amass 80 to 90% of the views that it's going to amass in the first 3 months. So you will see the full potential of a collaboration with a YouTuber, for example, after 3 months. And you, even after those 3 months, you're going to have more subscribers or app installs or conversions coming from that influencer. So I think that time is one of the big things, or impatience, let's say, in terms of mistakes.
I see. So app marketers, they don't take into consideration, they don't factor in the differences in different marketing channels. And in a combination, marketing channel and influencer, the human component, your interaction with a human being who's working for you is kind of a external marketing team, but actually not a marketing team. And the second part is that you actually have to understand how you can drive traffic through YouTube, through Instagram, TikTok these days, I think coming along really nicely and powerful, becoming the next, huge channel for driving installs. Now, let's cover the other side of the other part of the equation, influencers themselves. Obviously, you've been working with these people, I think even closer, even, spending more time. What kind of problems do you encounter when you work with these people?
I would say two. One is negotiation or pricing, and the second is commitment to deadlines. So number one,
so human.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of pricing, I mean, what happens is this. So I encourage every app marketer or an agency that is working with influencers to negotiate the prices. Why? Because of what we were discussing earlier, that a great collaboration with a YouTuber can deliver a good CAC or a bad CAC, depending on how much you pay for that audience, right? So how you have to approach it is you're purchasing, basically, when we work with influencers, we are purchasing views, right? So it could be Instagram story views, it could be YouTube video views, it could be Twitch views, it could be podcast downloads, but they are views, right? So you have to understand how many views you're going to get from a collaboration, and then price that in a way that makes sense for your app. And what happens is influencers, they have a certain fixed price that they value their time, and that's perfectly fine, right? But when you are approaching it, human to human, because there's no platform involved, and this is not an automated process, they also need to understand that maybe, I don't know, Unilever, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, they can pay, $1,000 for a video, but that doesn't make sense for a small game developer, right? And then, depending on your business model, it's not the same how much you can pay if you are a subscription that actually has recurrent revenue, or you are just a one-time purchase e-commerce. It's not the same if you have a ticket of $1,000 or a ticket of $10, how much you can pay an influencer. So I would say the first problem is making the influencers understand that you're not you want to negotiate, but you see value in their audience and in the content, but you're not actually valuing their content or their channel. You're actually saying how much you can pay based on a funnel, right? So that's a key point of friction. But at the same time, the influencers, their business model is partnering with brands, so they will receive any potential collaboration with the open arms. So negotiation is the first one, and then sometimes in a campaign timings is very important, and the upload date of a video or an Instagram story, it has to be precise, and these are again human, and the children can be sick, and the influencer is not posting the videos because they are obviously taking care of the little ones,
especially now.
Yeah, especially now with home office, and delays always happen, and that's fine. But these are creative individuals, right? So, and the bigger they are, the more chances of they doing whatever they want, and that's part of working with these highly visibility, highly creative human beings. Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you open up the App Store app, you can see a bunch of categories. What are the best fits for launching an influencer campaign among all these categories, like games, photo and video, utilities, social networking, etc.? What categories do work better among the rest?
Yeah, that's a great question, Art. And I think I said I had two answers. One is whenever there's a recurrent revenue, either via microtransactions or subscriptions, influencers is a great acquisition channel. Most of our clients are apps with a subscription business model. So that's one. So a recurrent revenue monetization model. And then the second would be if your product is hard to explain in a banner, influencers it's a great acquisition channel. Why? Because the usual influencer marketing collaboration, it's 1 to 2 minutes where the influencer, the content creator, is going to stop everything that she's doing, and they will take a full minute plus to explain the problem that you solve, how you solve it, whom are you solving it for, why, and then end up with a very strong reason on why to click or download or subscribe. So there are products that are not fit for a banner. As simple as that. So for example, we were talking about a VPN. A VPN is a very techie, hard to understand for many people, especially for the general audience. So a VPN is a great product as an example, right? So financial products are great, or fintechs are great. Learning related products are great. So that would be my two. And then another thing is number three. I'll add a third one is with COVID, or everything that happened this year. We saw a lot of the self-improvement space, that being from meditation to fitness to ebooks to kids learning. All of those categories really had their moment. So I would say that sometimes when things happen, people really pay attention a lot to influencers. And during COVID, I think that was very, very, now the value of influencers was for us very, very visible.
I see. Influencers, essentially, the best asset they have is that they are storytellers. They're good storytellers. They can convey a message. They can resonate with people who are eagerly listening to what they have to say. That's the great medium to actually give the extended detailed explanation of something, they wouldn't just want to listen to, from any other media. Like they wouldn't be able to listen, ad on YouTube for 5 minutes that it will be explaining in detail, but they will gladly listen to the podcast host, right? To the and any kind of like influencer on any media, on Instagram, on TikTok, or on YouTube. Those 5 minutes will not be wasted. They will be, absorbing those stories, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, a step further is that good influencers, the ones that really, are able to drive real life action, are actually curators of products. So you've seen, this quote unquote influencers that they look like they're an infomercial the entire time, right? And those are the bad ones, and those are the ones that we don't want to work with. We don't recommend, and those are the elephants in the room, let's say. That actually the good ones take care of their audience. They control the number of brands they work with. They filter, and they actually truly believe that their audience will benefit from hearing about X brand. So those are the ones that brands need to pay attention. And the future of this industry is with those kind of content creators that are actually care, and they're, as you said, great storytellers that actually care about transmitting the brand, and they're interested in the product, really, really interested. And when they talk about it, it is authentic, and that cannot be replaced with any banner in a YouTube ad. And frankly, who clicks on a banner? I mean, I don't, right?
Totally. All right. Now we're at this small segment of the show when I'm actually asking a few quick questions to my guest to paint a better picture of who he or she is. And here are they. Okay. So are you iOS or Android person?
I'm an Android person.
Okay. Finally, somebody add 1 unit to the stack of Android people.
It's balanced to iOS, I guess.
It's getting close, but there's more work need to be done because iOS stack is bigger at this point significantly, at least among the guests. Now, what was your first mobile phone?
I think a Nokia, but I don't remember the model, but it was a Nokia for sure.
Yeah, that's fair guess from those days. Okay, now, what is your favorite app?
I would say it's the App Store. And I think that it's, the App Store is the mother of all of the apps. And that's why I would, the App Store it's a great, supermarket. I mean, it's amazing. It created the app economy, right? So, yeah, for sure. Even though that right now they are facing a lot of trouble legally with Fortnite. Have you seen that?
No, the other thing that rang my bell was the hearings in the Senate about the antitrust policy, because the App Store is being under fire because of the whole idea of curation on the App Store because of the quality, any spyware, virus free, but this the whole thing is backfiring into Apple right now because the flip side of the coin is that there's a monopoly, and
there is for sure.
Yeah, well, there is nobody would reject that notion, but the reason for this monopoly was a technical and a very noble one. It's just at this point, it's more complicated. So I haven't heard about Fortnite. What's the deal?
So Fortnite, they got kicked out of the App Store last week because of them, trying to to invite users to not pay through the App Store because of the 30% Apple tax, let's say, the revenue share. The numbers for Fortnite, I mean, they drove, I think that only through the App Store, $1.2 billion, and Apple got a cut of $400 million. And
that's a big money for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And Fortnite is saying like this is too much. And there's a lot of developers saying it is too much. But I mean, yeah, it's a tricky situation. Spotify has been, very vocal about the 30%. It's interesting.
Okay, so new app technologies. Are there something on the horizon that you're waiting for, to actually be part of the apps on your phone that will make it more useful for you, will bring more value to your life?
Yeah, I've been waiting for VR to be good for a long time. So I'm really, starting to feel that VR is never going to. I'm not going to see VR and enjoy VR. It's losing traction, right? I
that's
feel
for sure.
and I fear is losing traction again.
Yeah, probably not this decade, or maybe this decade. We don't know. Like, it's hard to forecast that far in advance.
Yeah.
All right, that was my last question. But before I let you go, how can people get in touch with you and know more about what you do?
Yeah, of course. You can look to our website. It's TATAM, TATAM.digital, TATAM.digital, or you can drop me an email at Federico@tatam.digital.
Awesome. Thank you, Federico. Thank you for coming on our show.
Thank you a lot. I really enjoyed it, Art.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that was Federico Llano, co-founder of TATAM Digital. To listen to more episodes, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher. Just search for Business of Apps and you will find us easily. Once you subscribe, you'll be able to get new episodes in your smartphone, tablet, or computer as soon as we release them. And please don't forget to leave us a review and comment. It is highly appreciated. And all episodes will also be available on businessofapps.com. See you next week.
This is the Business of Apps podcast, bringing you actionable insights from the leaders of the global app industry and the world's fastest growing apps. You can find more app news, data, and analysis over at businessofapps.com. Thank you for listening to the Business of Apps podcast. For more, head on over to businessofapps.com.